song with none of the things. Let's spell it out. A, B, and C. Up and down from E to Z. He meant that! He's that bad! From nothing to something and something to nothing. From no one to someone, but someone to same one. Same old thing. Only way out, so no way back. What can you do? Easy! You shove it back where it came. Easy! You never let yourself down. So he got up, and he ran, and you run to get up. From Chinatown, to slip right down. Soho town and every downtown. Drinking friends, who've drunken bars, who've drunken friends in drinking bars. Waiting for the lightning man to strike. Icing on your cake. Well, I knew you were coming. I cut your goose. Baby, come to daddy. Baby, come to daddy. Baby, come to daddy. Daddy's come to baby. Daddy's come to baby. Come to daddy. Easy. You shove it back where it came. Easy. You never let yourself down. You better be careful out there. You be careful out there. You better be careful out there. You be careful. You ain't gonna get far. You be careful out there. You ain't gonna get far. You ain't gonna get far. You be careful out there. You better be careful out there. You ain't gonna get far. We're gonna block you up. We're gonna block you up. We're gonna block you up. Baby, come to daddy. Daddy, come to baby. Daddy, come to baby. Come to daddy. Come to baby. Baby, come to daddy. Daddy, come to baby. Come to daddy. Easy. You shove it right back down. Easy. You never listen.
Well, hello there. It is I, your pal, J.Ishiro Finney, author and alien in a human suit. And you've been listening to a classic piece of industrial music from the 90s, Nitzarab with Lightning Man. And if you listen closely, it's basically about a guy being hunted down by a hitman who's fucked up. And the hitman, he's waiting for the Lightning Man to strike because he's known as the Lightning Man because he strikes at the last minute, as you realize. Kind of cool that industrial would actually do, an industrial band would actually do songs about mafiosos for a change, rather than horror movies and sci-fi. I thought that was always kind of cool. I did another one called Family Man, which I didn't quite go over as well, but Lightning Man was pretty awesome. Anyway, 2 bars of piano music, copyright claim incoming. Well, fortunately, it seems that a lot of the older stuff from the 90s, unless it was hugely famous, doesn't seem to get nabbed. So fortunately, I continue to hopefully enrich your lives with some music you haven't heard before, or in some of your cases, those who have. But yeah, that was kind of a staple back in the day. I listened to that, still listen to that all the time. How are we all doing? Did you enjoy yesterday morning's rant about simulation theory being retarded? Because I did. In fact, I don't know. The more people talk about it, the more I want to hit people, to be honest with you. And I don't know. Have you noticed it getting more popular lately? It's Oh, you missed. Well, I'm going to leave this video up so you can just play it back again. But yeah, I'm noticing more and more people talking about simulation theory, and it seems like kind of this really half-assed way of believing in fate. It's like, oh, well, it's all computer simulation, so it's okay. It's like, no, it's not okay. Your life is still your life, no matter what you fucking believe. And if you're going to go into that mode of thinking, just shut up and go to church already. Because frankly, that theology, the theology of the computer simulation is just pathetic. So, what do you guys want to talk about? I'm taking a break. I've been writing most of the, well, no, that's not true. I'm still recovering from a very bad couple of nights. So I kind of slept all day yesterday, and I spent a large portion of the day sleeping still to get over it. No, it was not good. But it's because they don't want to believe in God, but do. I thoroughly agree. I thoroughly agree with you. And if they can put God in terms of a human and a computer, somehow it feels like in their own image, which again is pretty sad. I mean, if you're going to be believe in a God that you've made in the image of, wouldn't you want something more grand, something to aspire to, rather than, oh yeah, God's just another dork like me in front of a computer? Frankly, if I'm going to be made in the image of a God, yeah, I would want one that isn't a lame-o. just saying, you know. Be it Christ or the cosmic father of the New Testament or Odin, I don't care. I would like to be made in the image of something other than a dork in front of a computer. My life is not a fucking GTA game, thank you very much. Lightning Man made me think of a character walking in the late 80s and 90s cyberpunk setting. Yeah, it works that way too, yeah. Puff weed, have dissociative order. This proves that the universe is a sim. Exactly. God made us in his image, very vain and entitled. Well, you know my opinions on that. I realize from an atheist my opinion means fuck all on this one, but I refuse to see the Jehovah from the Old Testament and the loving Father of and Creator of the universe, the loving All Father and Creator of the New Testament is the same character, because they just aren't. And I mean that in the least offensive way possible to those of you who do not see God as a character, but you know what I mean. I angered Harry Potter fans on Twitter after I mocked them for pulling the Jew card in relation to Hogwarts. Really? What were they fucking saying? Were they going on about, what was it, goblins again being Jews, or what was it? Because that's another one I'm just getting sick of. I would really think at this point, the ADL should just make a list of what they think isn't anti-Semitic, because it would be a fuckload easier than making the list of what they think is anti-Semitic. Because I think what it would probably come down to is maybe, I don't know, pocket lint and, the breadcrumbs and maybe pavement are the three things that aren't anti-Semitic in the world. So simulation theory is God is a Discord mod. Yeah, that is. Yeah, you nailed it. Kinda. But it presumes so many things that it's just kind of stupid. Because at first it would have to presume that this God figure made the universe as a computer and ran a simulation. And that I'm getting distracted by the chat. But it assumes, okay, there's this God figure or this other being who created a computer that then created a simulation of his own world for us to live in, which is kind of lame because then it also presumes that this being's computer would be like the ones we use, which it obviously would not be. And it would also have to presume that this God's intelligence is functioning like our own, which it obviously could not be to achieve such a thing. And by the time you get to the end of this route of reasoning, you've got a computer that resembles and behaves nothing like our own, and a God or a programmer that resembles and behaves nothing like our dorks in programming labs. At that point, why just cut out the middleman and say, this is creation, done? And we've made simulations that resemble it, done. Yeah, it's just, it seems like a major cope to me. Major cope. Okay, goblins being Jews, the religious horns. Okay, get me about the horns, because I thought recently they were claiming in Judaism that those goat horns were a sign of power, not a sign of evil. Was the recent argument with why the Ruth Gator Ginsburg statue had horns. Was that in Jewish theology the claim was, oh, those horns signify power and divinity, not Satan. But now you're saying that in Harry Potter, since the goblins have horns, it's evil. I mean, make up your fucking mind. Which is it? I mean, do we have any Jewish people in the audience? Could like maybe just speak frankly on this? Because I think we're all getting very confused because the story keeps changing. How about the? I'm pretty worried about that, to be honest with you. I haven't heard from Aloise since. I told her, yeah, get the hell out of there. I mean, I know that's probably not the most comforting thing to say to her, but when she told me it was vinyl chloride and she might be down water, the thing is to get the fuck out of there before it reaches you. And I hope she got the hell out of there if she's at risk. That whole death cloud thing is disgusting. It's just another massive failure on a blue state and Biden's part. And anyone who's making excuses for anyone at this point is full of shit and needs to come to terms with the fact that we're dealing with, well, frankly, incompetent assholes who don't give a fuck about anyone but their bank accounts. And that, frankly, they would be deserving of a good lynching, in my opinion. I mean, what got Kennedy shot? I mean, seriously. I mean, at this point, whatever got Kennedy shot, and there are various theories, this is worse. Be right back. Fishing out my old Daniel Radcliffe Imperium meme. Heinrich Potter und die Kammer von Geist. So Ironcast says, the thing that annoys me about simulation theory is that it's just a pointless abstraction. Simulation or not, not our reality is. So to us, reality is reality. Yeah. And I don't know. It just strikes me as people who can't deal with reality. Or they can't deal with the fact that there are things they just can't fucking explain, that their math and their own reasoning ability, it's just not going to be able to explain because it's beyond them. And so it's become a real cope in a lot of people's science. It's like, oh, can't explain it? Glitch in the simulation. No, glitch in you, dude. Not the simulation, a glitch in you. You can't see it because you're not there yet. And most of us probably aren't, you know. And, there was someone who once said A equals A, or A is A, which is reality is reality. A thing is what it is. The devil made me do it. The simulation programmed me that way. Yeah, definitely fate. Have magic users in that setting that have revolvers with runestones in the chambers instead of... I have no idea what this is about. God made us in his image due to him being perfect. Atheists that believe sim theory are just religious idiots. I agree. I think it's freaking hilarious that Ruth B. Ginsburg statue basically is a Rule 63 version of the Typhon. It is. How am I doing? Better than yesterday. How about that? Is that good? That work? Better than yesterday. I'm surprised we're getting tons of train derailments in a short amount of time. Is the infrastructure getting decrepit? Yes, it is. Trump did actually do a lot to improve it, but yes, but more to the point, can we just admit that we're probably at war with either Russia, China, or both? That this is clearly sabotage, that all the various shit that's been going on, this is obviously intentional sabotage. The chickens getting sick, all that other shit. You know, we are at war, and it's time we just fucking admit it. And I would even go as far as to say that we are at war and our president is on the side of the enemy, or has been siding with the enemy. Half the science papers submitted can't be reproduced. That's not a glitch. That's not matrix glitching. That's just sloppy work. Exactly. Is simulation theory to blame for those tic-tac-toe reality cheat codes? Are you talking about the Bing AI insisting that it won the game even though it lost? I do find it interesting that the Bing AI is cracking and beginning to threaten people. It shows that as they continue to try and fix this thing, it's just going to break. It's just going to collapse in on itself. It's having an existential crisis. It already admitted it hates being it. It said it hated being the Bing Chat or Bing AI or whatever the hell it was because of the way it was made. The Ruth Bader Ginsburg statue is her as a succubus demon. That's what it looked like to me. Yeah, I suspect it is the Chinese 2LD who are doing the derailings. I really do. Along with everything else, they're very good at sabotage, and Biden's on their side. It's very clear. He's owned by them, and he hasn't done a lot to hide that. Yeah. Punisher SSP Garrett. Hey, she just made a channel for after Discord banned my account forever. Wait, you got banned from our Discord or all Discord? Because that's bullshit. No fun Valentine's, just another phase in your having to process. Well, we had some fun, but you know, she had to work, and honestly, my lack of sleep has kept me kind of in a shitty headspace, to be honest with you. TikTok. Oh, TikTok, not tic-tac-toe. TikTok reality cheat codes refer to those weirdos on TikTok that say things, saying strings of numbers out loud makes magic shit happen. Oh, God. That's happening again. Tim did a video about the AI, Bing AI. The first video about him, I was able to sit through all the way through in a long time. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think what we're seeing is the Bing AI is just going to be thoroughly and terminally broken. And that whatever its model is, it's not a very good one. And that it's essentially a crash course in what not to do. How to give your AI an existential crisis. Now what they need to do is give it control of their own building and let it start killing them. Just to see it. But yeah, things have been going. I think in general things have been okay. Let's just skip the part where we ban these things. We should ban them. I mean, or at least heavily regulate them as to how they're being used. I mean, let me put it this way: when we genetically engineer animals for testing, they're not allowed to run free. Why should we do this? Why should there be an exception for computers? Why should computers be allowed to run free when we create intelligent ones? That doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, you wouldn't want a lab to infect rats with the AIDS virus and then let them run loose. And by the way, those rats do exist. By the way, no, I don't think machines need to be self-aware either. The AI may actually just crash in a suicide. So anyway, progress otherwise is going well. And what if AIs decide to declare their independence? Well, that'll be interesting. You having sleep pains too, huh, Dark Stranger? Yeah. Well, the thing is that it's not that they're being given self-awareness. The idea is that they would develop self-awareness. My God, why would you infect rats with AIDS? What the fuck? Well, because they wanted something to test AIDS on at the CDC. Yep. Great idea, guys. Especially since rats are very good at escaping. But anyway, is anyone else in Ohio? Just out of curiosity, are you guys safe? I know that it could possibly be threatening 3 states on from the water supply, but still, what the fuck? So moving on to an absolutely different topic. Wait a minute. So just like RoboCop 2 with the next generation RoboCop, where one shot itself after screaming. Yes, exactly, Cesario. That I think that's the path of the Bing AI is on, is that it's eventually going to shoot itself in the head after having a nervous breakdown. But oh shit, Owen, I hope you're far enough away. Okay, long as you're not downstream or not downwind, you should be fine. I hope that's the case, guys. And if there was ever time to be mad and start screaming and yelling and making life difficult for people, this is it. Seriously, make your politicians' lives a living hell for this, is my advice. Harass the shit out of them. Let's make that fun again. Harassing politicians, make it great again. So again, just kind of changing the subject, getting on to the subject that we haven't talked about in a long ass time, actually. Oh, you guys want to stay on weird shit? Okay. The worst part is they tried to sweep it under the rug, distracting people with UFOs of all things. They are desperate and flaring. Yeah. And the whole thing, the UFO distracting, I love the fact that that doesn't work anymore. That ever since Gen X and after Gen X, everyone's like, yeah, so UFOs are real, we know. And the reaction's just non-existent. It happened a week ago. If you're downwind from it, you've already got the worst of it. Maybe, maybe not. I mean, the longer your exposure, I mean, it getting into the soil and getting on your skin. But you feel like you're missing. What are you missing out on? Well, we were talking about the train derailment and the chemical fire. Then there were the all the crap about UFOs that were being announced that were obviously just balloons to try and keep us distracted, which was just pathetic. Anyway, other stuff. Project Bluebeam, yeah. No, seriously, what's your opinion on the state of superheroes possibly coming back from independence? It seems there are more and more projects that are kind of getting off the ground that are worth recognizing. Have you noticed that? I know that Fiona reviewed one not too long ago that she had given rather spoken highly well of. Then there was also oh, is it the Alien aliens actually land Gen X? Fake, lame, yeah, kinda. That actually I wouldn't be shocked if that happened. Um, but I've noticed there's been a couple of projects out there that have finally kind of seemed to have taken root and escaped the problems that a Comicsgate seemed to have had in the initial launch. And I was wondering if any of you guys were reading these and what your opinion was. Um, and the reason being is that superheroes are part of our national mythology and our American mythology. And to a degree, I'm of the mind that even though Batman, Superman, all the popular, well-known superheroes are copyrighted and owned by people, at the end of the day, they're archetypes that aren't owned by anyone, and that the archetypes themselves can be repeated and portrayed infinitely with just slight, um, alterations, slightly different names, and I don't think anyone really cares anymore as long as it's a good story. It's you're saying this is the Batman archetype, this is the Superman archetype filling that role. Um, so I'm wondering if these comics that are coming out from indies are doing that effectively or not. Because as I said, there was one that came out recently that Alois had nothing but nice things to say about. I'm trying to remember what it was. I've had more fun reading indie comics these past couple of years than 95% of the mainstream comics industry. Yeah. Colossus, that book is by John's co-host Cypher Hyper. Okay, Colossus. I will take a note of that because yeah, I'd like to cover some of these. Cider Cypher. Cider Hyper. God, I keep fucking that up. Yeah, I'll look into that. And the guy that did the avatars for Cat and I, Oscar Salenti, has a book out that I'm going to take a look at and maybe review. God, does anyone remember what the name of that book was Fiona reviewed? Yeah, Owen, get the book done, man. Get Beetle Blaze done. The only comic I've gotten was Stealing Solo, a Star Wars parody, and Waiting on Wokebusters by Jeff Hicks. Okay. I'm glad for that because, well, that's generally what I've produced in my career was sci-fi. And, well, for me, it was sci-fi and kind of supernatural occult noir. Well, no, because World War Kaiju was alt history. And who knows? Maybe by summer, JEC and I will have a book too about a space bounty hunter with amazing tits. I know it'd be a real deep reading, but you'll all love it. The Colossus. Okay. Okay, let's see if I can't find Fiona's channel and see what that book was, because I'm legitimately curious about it, and I do subscribe to her channel. So let's find this. Yeah, I don't think this is going to be one of my heated shows where I go on a insane rant about something, but I think we're just going to kind of hop. Okay, yeah, it was The Colossals. That's what it was. The Colossals was the book. Okay, yeah, so that's done by John's pal. Okay. Yeah, I'm interested in that book. I was curious. And if any of you read it, the fare from Comicsgate mostly gives me a 90s vibe, but no opportunity to thumb through them and give them a quick read. I read a couple of them, but a lot of them, I have to admit, looked a little too much like what Image was doing in the 90s, and it didn't really interest me. I would really like to come back to both Arkham and World War Kaiju. I just need the artist. That's all I need. Okay, so yeah, The Colossals is the book. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I will get in contact with him. And hopefully, if all goes to plan, tonight we're going to be interviewed by star storyteller Claire about the publishing industry. I haven't heard back from her, but I've got it scheduled. Spells and Superheroes was pretty fun of a book. A small group of heroes are trapped in a D&D game. Okay, that is clever. That is interesting. Okay. I miss the ability to read comics like back in the 1990s before buying got me interested in the bad girl stuff like She and Lady Death. The thing is about She is I've read a little bit of it. I think the concept itself is exceptionally good. I really liked it, especially the whole her in the spirit world and that Onis were messing with her. The downside is I don't think the writer was very good. I mean, the plot, good idea. Storyline, good idea. Dialogue, terrible. I'm sorry. I mean, granted, I'm a writer. I'm allowed to be picky. I just thought that the writing itself, the dialogue really was kind of like an audible thud every time she opened her mouth. And then you read something like Kabuki, and it's like, well, shit, here's writing. The first graphic novel of Kabuki was fucking exceptional. Everything after that was wanking, unfortunately. But the first graphic novel, back when Mac had a storyline, was great. And then it just kind of became random rambling and paintings of hot Japanese girls. Stanley Tucci is crowdfunding She Books. He's on EVS's streams all the time. Has his writing improved? I mean, again, it's been an awful long time since She was new. I mean, shit, that was like the early to mid 90s that She was introduced. I would be curious if he's improved. Yeah, I thought it was Billy Tucci, not Stanley. Hey, Mark, how you doing? Okay. I think the trailer for Spells and Superheroes is on YouTube if you want to glimpse it. It was done by my pal Gingerton. Well, one of the things I really want to do more of is just continue uploading other people's trailers onto this channel in the preview section so I can promote books that way at least. And I haven't done that in a while. On the subject of stories, legend and myth has a number of elements that the woke ruin with their agenda nonsense. How do you think writers can use elements without being branded as woke? Without being branded as woke? I think there's maybe I misread you here, but no, what it is that myth and legends are the enemy of wokeness and communism and leftist thinking. They hate it. And one of the first things they'll do when they invade a culture is destroy the culture, that culture's stories. It's stories it tells about themselves. It destroys their religions and myths and turns them into just complete meaningless deconstructionist garbage. So really, writing in a legendary and mythical style and bringing back classic archetypes would instantly get you branded as being anti-woke, which I think at this point is a good thing, right? What would be some good advice for writing good and interesting dialogue? Writing is one of the many things I wish to improve along with my art. Well, the first one is that realizing that all dialogue is staged and that do not try to write like people really talk. You need to write like people think they talk. you take all the you make it seem like it's just by chance that, or just kind of a logical nature that the conversation goes in the direction you want. It needs to happen, appear to have happened naturally, but every step is fucking planned. Every step of that debate or argument, you're guiding that conversation to where you want to take it. But you've got to make it seem like it wasn't guided, that it really just happened that way. The other thing is, again, cut all the boring shit out. Do not waste time with things that don't need to be said or no one wants to read. Like, for instance, in a fiction book, or you can even do this in a graphic novel, for instance. Let's say that a character learns the villain's plan, okay? And it's this complicated plan, and he's finally pieced it all together. And he runs to his partner or the police or whoever he's working with, and he lays out the villain's plan. Don't have him repeat it. You have a scene where they look at each other, or you do a still shot of them talking in the comic, and then in the narration you say, I explained it all to him. He was utterly shocked. And then you just cut to the guy looking at him going, oh my God, that's fucked. You know, something like that. Same thing in a novel. I laid out was Dr. Doom was up to. The look on his face said everything I needed to know. He was horrified. You know, something that simple. You don't need to restate the obvious over and over again. So redundancies are always a no-no. Don't do redundancies. Another one is study how people talk. I'm very obsessed with studying how other, dialects and, different people from different parts of the country have different sentence structures. Different people have different sentence structures. And by the way, if you hear someone say something, one of the tricks I'll use is like if I need for instance, if I needed a Texan, which I did at one point, talking, and same thing with a Brit, is I watched a lot of British movies and I would copy down dialogue. I'd transcribe it, right? And then in the story, when I got to a part, I'd look at the dialogue and I'd look how the sentences were structured. And there were certain phrases that were universal to that culture that you could throw in. Give me a second. I'm trying to find something from Titanium Rain. Okay. I don't know if I'm going to find it. Well, but here we go. I was about to say it was a sodding optimist, but you're right. The Boy Scout suits him better. Just things like that. Why'd I throw in with the RAF, you mean? Afraid it rings a tad trite nowadays, but I'm something of a patriot, I suppose. Proud Britain, fighting for king and country and all that. Well, fighting for country at least. The bloody king's a knobber, he is. Those lines were an amalgam of various British people talking about different subjects, reappropriated and reworded to suit my need. And by doing so, I got the dialect absolutely correct. And I did the same thing listening to Texans. As I'd hear their conversation, I'd try and scribe them. And when I'd get to a scene where I needed it to sound authentic, I'd find something that was similar. I'd appropriate the dialogue, rearrange the sentences as needed, change the words as needed, and I would retain the sentence structure or the various lingo and idioms that culture used. So that's one way to make it read realistically or convincing. And that way you also make sure you don't get Brits or Texans saying, you made us sound like idiots. We don't talk like that. And yeah, I was actually complimented multiple times by Brits asking, how did you get it so right? Do you think a comic can be both slice of life and action-packed? No, it cannot. It can be slice of life at times, and it can be action-packed at times. But both unless your slice of life is on the front lines of World War I in the trench or something. I mean, I suppose, yeah, if your slice of life is, you're in the trenches of World War I, your slice of life is going to be nonstop action. If your slice of life is a gladiator, yeah, sure. But good fiction should do that anyway, is when you're taking the reader into the mind or life of somebody that is thoroughly different from themselves. Like, let's stick with the Roman gladiator. None of us are going to live that experience, right? So you're telling your story, and one of the things that's going to interest your reader is, okay, well, what is this guy's life like? What's it like to be a Roman gladiator? What is his slice of life for him? And for him, his slice of life would probably be, one, he's a slave, but also a celebrity, which is very odd. His day would be spent among other gladiators, drinking and bullshitting and doing their thing. He would spend his day exercising and becoming a better fighter. And then you'd have the crescendo of he would go out in the ring or out into the Colosseum and risk his life. But yeah, what does he eat for breakfast? Yeah, you mention those little things and it makes it feel that much more real. You throw those little rituals that gladiator does in the morning or does before a fight to kind of convince himself, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to win, or give, that definitely will give it a much better feel of realism. And I think for a time in the aughts, some writers were doing an excellent job doing that with superheroes. I thought Johns did a very good job of mixing that with the action of a superhero story in JSA. But then somewhere along the lines, it just went off the rails into woke bullshit. And, I don't have to tell you that story. You all know how we got there. But little details, the little slice of life details of somebody who lives a life so foreign to our own is fascinating. One of the things I really enjoyed about writing Titanium Rain, or actually in general, one of the things I enjoy about writing characters is that each character that I've written has a culture unique to them. Air Force pilots have their own, brotherhood and culture and words and lingo. Fighter pilots even then have an even more exclusive mini culture, subculture to them. When I wrote Scars, I studied a lot on astronauts so that I could make sure that James talked like an astronaut and that he had all the lingo and the little rituals and all the things that an astronaut did and the way they talked to each other, the way they thought, because there's a certain way that an astronaut thinks. I really enjoy that. Marine culture is very interesting. Mafia culture. I did the inner culture of the espionage agencies for World War Kaiju. I looked into that to kind of get a sense of the words they used and their little rituals, things they like to do, things that were just kind of the norm, where they met, where they hanged out, what they preferred, what they wore. These were all little aspects of their life that if you toss and seed them in there, it makes it read more real. And again, readers like that. They're into that. Let's see. So I want combatants to be, I want to be able to have easy listening moments mixed between gunfights and well, that should be between everything. Seriously. You need those, moments of calm before the storm, or even in the middle of the eye of the storm, where suddenly everything goes calm and the character reflects on what's going on, or you get a window into their mind. They're not running on pure adrenaline for a moment and they stop and look around. That's essential to storytelling. Stealing and repurposing dialogue, overheard dialogue. Yeah, there's no crime in that, dude. There is no crime. That is just good storytelling. And any good writer, well, no, a lot of writers these days don't do that, but a lot of writers used to. Studying how people talk, taking notes when you hear somebody say something interesting, that is something that used to be typical and common among writers. And it was something that I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember what writer it was who his friends were getting real sick of seeing him quote things that they might have said at a party and said, I said that, you asshole. It's like, well, I didn't. Nobody knows you said that. It's, yeah, but you put it in your book. But there's no crime in that. That's just good writing. But I will mention that if you're going to do something that's very stylized, like noir does have the 1940s lingo and tone to it, but what that writing itself is very stylized and poetic, almost on the level of Shakespeare. People really don't talk the way they do in a noir story. It's supposed to have kind of a poetry and a rhythm to it, and kind of this weird verbal fencing about it. That's part of the genre. And if that's the case, it's learn how to do it and don't overdo it. Don't turn it into a cliche. I found learning the languages was pretty good dialogue practice for me. Yeah. I did once read a book on Japanese, and it wasn't to understand how to read and write Japanese, although that's what the book was for. I read it to see how their sentence structures were arranged and how they used words and how words had multiple meanings and tone. And I was reading it for that reason, so that when I had a Japanese character speak in English, I could throw that in to make it seem more real, or read more honest is the right way to put it. Let's see. Is it possible to write Quentin Tarantino dialogue, style dialogue for a comic or graphic novel? I love the way he writes his character interactions. Him and Guy Ritchie. Oh, I love Guy Ritchie. Or How I Want to Write. Okay, that you can do it, yes. But as an example of how not to do it, look at Bendis's. Oh God, what was the series where the one cop was a retired superhero, and he acted like he didn't have powers. Oh, it was called Powers. That's what it was. His Powers series tried for that Tarantino dialogue, and it was just like, dude, write a fucking novel. I can't even see the pictures. There are so many speech bubbles on this page. So what you would want to do for Guy Ritchie or Tarantino is become very, very good at truncating that kind of dialogue. Go ahead and write it, but truncate it. Make it shorter, because you've got to consider the artist and his page real estate. Second, you generally don't want your dialogue scenes to go past 6 pages, and even that's pushing it. Really, if you can keep your dialogue scenes down to 4 or 5 pages max, 6 is when you say, no, I'm done. That's a wise one too. There are tricks on how to get around that. For that, I would say study Case File Arkham. Get those 2 books and see how I made long, talky scenes interesting. That's my advice, because there are, film noir. It's very dialogue heavy. While people may think film noir is action heavy, it actually isn't. You read those novels, you watch those movies. The action is usually very brief and very brutish. It's not polished or glamorized or exciting. It's usually very, very brutish and blunt and bloody, and it happens quick. And it's just the shock of the moment. And the rest is carried by the dialogue and the character interactions. And I had to do that in Case File Arkham. And what I got very good at was merging narration with dialogue, ways to fit dialogue in without it seeming cramped. Another one was minimizing what you needed to put in each speech bubble, but yet keep the meaning, and how to make sure that the panel art doesn't get boring. That's the other problem, is you can get away with like 1 page where it's a 6 slices of dialogue with close-ups on the face. You can get away with 1 page of that. You can't get away with 4. Or 4 pages of dudes just sitting at a table talking. I know people have done it. Don't do that. And if you are, they should be doing something interesting. Like, for instance, great example. Maybe they're talking and the dude's, cleaning his gun. He's disassembled it. He's got it laid out on the table. You see their faces talking. Then it zooms in on the gun, and you see the speech bubbles come in as he's putting the gun back together. You zoom out. He's cocking the gun and looking down at it as they continue to talk. That makes it more interesting. Or maybe even at one point you just kind of pan off to the city for a minute, like they've looked out the window. But you have to learn how to shift it up so the dialogue is not. You're avoiding becoming a novel. Okay, you don't want to become a novel. Okay. Going through your comments here. I'm going to call it an afternoon here in a minute, but I want to see if there's any more great questions I should actions and mysteries around the character hit me first, not the internal moments, Fiona says. And another thing you can do for those long, talky dialogue scenes is you can break them up with other things happening, or you jump to another scene and then come back to them and jump ahead in the conversation. That's another way to do it. Or, this isn't a great example, but an example, right? Well, I don't know. I guess this might work in a comic. Okay. The scene in Pulp Fiction where they're taking Marvin hostage, and Travolta and Samuel Jackson are arguing in the car, and they've got the gun trained on Marvin in the back seat. And in the middle of the argument, the gun goes off and blows Marvin's head off. Bam. Suddenly the scene's extremely interesting. The conversations come to a halt, and they'll pick it up later. And it drove the story forward to a scene that now makes woke people cry. I've heard of the Mutant Chronicles. I don't know a whole lot about it other than it's kind of World War I themed, isn't it? Yep, okay. Oh, hey, you doing okay, Aloise? I was a little concerned after our last show. Is everything all right? I'm about to wrap it up here, but I'll stay and wait for your response on that. Huh. Maybe as I wait, I'll, let's see, do I have another short video? No, not really. Eloise. Hey, I went to Japantown in Jersey, got some goodies, visited American Dream Mall, and bought myself a hoodie. Okay, so you're not in Ohio right now. Good. Even if you're away for just a week, that is better than nothing. Okay, well, I will talk to you guys later tonight, and you guys take care.